News and views from Vic Wyatt House. The unique situation thrust upon us due to the pandemic has meant our social life at Vic Wyatt House has undergone some vast changes. We are a resilient group who enjoys the company of one another, and I am asking some of the tenants to share some of their experiences with us. Normally, people will have had greater opportunities to socialize and share ideas. What would come through in casual conversation has been stifled, and maybe this effort will help to alleviate some of the stress associated with the cutbacks to our social life. We have been missing the camaraderie of Monday coffee and Friday suppers and all the games and hobbies in between. So I'm planning to interview tenants who are willing to talk on camera and help to keep everyone up to date. Our first guest will be Lawrence Chuby.
Well, good morning from Vic Wyatt House. It's Friday, and we're not having a Friday supper, but we have to do a little bit of socializing anyway. So, Lawrence, how was the summer?
The summer has been great. We've had a wonderful summer. It was nice to finally have the scaffolding all gone. It wasn't until July till they took it all down, but then we're able to enjoy all the beautiful spaces. And I can't believe the gardeners around here, how they've worked on all the grounds, and they're back to normal, just about.
Well, last year with expanding the garden with 6 more plots, that made more people involved. But with all the construction, it kind of cut back on the gardening and the flower beds, you know.
But it's certainly nice having those gardens here, and it's surprising how much you can grow on a 12 by 12 plot. You know, you kind of have to adjust, but it's great having the plots right here where we live.
Yeah. Well, we had put in about 8 tomato plants this year, and we had tomatoes like for 2 months.
Yeah.
We still have some on the cupboard,
Yeah.
actually. So what was the best crop that you had in the garden this year?
Well, the best crop that I grew this year was a trellis cucumber that I planted here. And I've never planted a trellis cucumber before, but when you have a smaller space, it's ideal. And every second day we had about 7 or 8 cucumbers that we picked, and they were a good size. They're an English type. So that was a real winner. I've even shared some of those seeds with Vera and Willie, and she loved those cucumbers so much that she wants to plant them again next year. So that was probably the most successful one.
So where did you get that idea?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I had gotten seeds from my sister, and I said, well, it's ideal. I'll try it, see how it works. I've never, I've always just planted the regular national pickling cucumbers, but that worked out really great.
Well, people in gardening, I think they're always trying something new, eh? Just not just going with the tried and true, but it's a great hobby for that.
Oh, for sure. And I attended a seed exchange, and I got some different seeds that I planted at my other garden that I have by St. Amant. That garden is a little bit larger. It's 25 by 50. And so I got some seeds for a colorful corn for decorations, and then some black weirded wheat that I had planted, and then I also did a test for the University of Bismarck on some cactus zinnias, and also on the snap peas. The cactus zinnias really worked out well. They're a big flower, and the snap peas didn't work out as well because the deer kept coming into the garden and chewing them down. So, but those are the things that happen.
So there's no fence around the garden over at St. Amant?
No, there isn't. And I tried to put a bit of a barricade, but it didn't really work.
So did you have to give a lot of advice to your fellow gardeners? Because everybody walked around the garden and looked at yours and they were kind of green with envy, you know?
Yeah, I've had a number of questions from residents here. You know, how do you do this? How does that grow? And it's always nice to get out there when we have gatherings and visit with individual.
So would you call yourself like an organic gardener, or do you use a little bit of fertilizer, or where are you sitting in this?
I would consider
position?
myself an organic gardener because I don't use any pesticides or commercial fertilizer. I use the compost we have here, and I also use mushroom compost on my other garden. So, and that mushroom compost works very well because it's there's no weeds in it at all. So it works very good.
Okay.
You want to take it down?
Okay, that's great. So I'm just wondering, Lawrence, we got 21 plots there, and you're good at evaluating gardens and so on. How did we do?
I think we did very well. Everybody grew what they like to grow, and so it's interesting to see what people do grow and what do they get out of the gardens here. And it's so wonderful having those fresh vegetables straight out of the garden. They just taste so much better.
So what did you think of the raised boxes and how they performed this year?
Well,
Not that I want you to put you on the spot too much here.
The raised boxes is a great idea, and it keeps people that aren't as mobile. They still can garden and watch things grow in the gardening boxes. So it's great having them, and it's a little bit different having the raised gardens. You know, especially in the area they're in, they get a lot of sun, and so you know, I think next year we'll see people putting different things in there that maybe weren't successful this year.
So one of the questions we noticed that some people like water every day and other people like water every 3 days and so on. Like, what's your practice? What do you think is the best practice? I know it depends on conditions.
Yeah. Well, you definitely don't have to water every day because if you water every day, then the roots stay shallow and they don't really go deep. So it's better.
Yeah.
Every third day is probably more than enough to water a garden.
So one of the surprises this year was the north side of the building and the construction, and how the plants kind of seem to thrive in spite of the construction. How do you size up that north pathway and what was happening there?
Well, perennials are very resistant, and they'll grow even without any too much watering, or they'll still survive, and it's amazing. Quite a few of the perennials did survive. Some didn't, but then that gives us an opportunity to add new ones there, and so it's all a win-win situation, and there is not too many places like the Vic Wyatt House here that has so much green space and so many beautiful gardens to look at.
I'm surprised at how well the plants grew on the north side.
Yeah,
like they get the sun in the evening basically, and that's it.
That's
But
right.
They're kind of more plants that grow better in the shade than in the sunlight. For
That's right.
example.
Yeah,
So,
some will do much better in the sun for sure. Yeah.
well, I certainly saw a lot of people walking around and enjoying the plants anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so that was really
Yeah,
great.
we're very fortunate because our patio, closed-in patio, is on the north side, and we see the gardens, we see the paths, and so we see the people walking by, and the deer coming, and and now the geese feeding in the area. So
Well, we didn't have a groundhog this year to contend with, or I don't think were there any squirrels in the garden.
there was some squirrels, but you know.
We had trouble last year with growing some root crops. Our beets got eaten, so we
Yeah.
didn't try that again this year.
Yeah. I was very surprised this year. There was no problem with root crops. Last year it was a problem in the
Yeah.
garden, but not this year.
Well, it was dry at the outset. I mean, conditions are different every year.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's why gardening is such a challenge and such an opportunity to do better next year, because gardeners are a very optimistic group. I've already planted garlic and multiplier onions in my St. Amant garden. I'm just waiting for the garden to be tilled, and I keep a log of when I plant and what I plant. So I have a good memory, only it's short. but I also have a place in my book that I keep different quotes, gardening quotes that I run into. From
Okay,
time
words
to
of wisdom are coming.
And one of them is, all gardeners live in beautiful places because they make it so. And another one is, gardening adds years to your life and life to your years. So we're adding additional life to the gardeners that are gardening in the garden boxes. So
Wonderful.
And gardening is cheaper than therapy. And you get tomatoes, right, Ed?
Right. Love them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lawrence. It has been a pleasure, and I hope that you enjoy this video. And if you have any suggestions about other people that should be interviewed, and if you are willing to share your story and some ideas about life at Vic White House, and maybe some of your COVID experiences in a positive way, well, just let me know. So we'll sign off for now, and thanks again, Lawrence.
Just for an ending remark, I would like to say, may God's blessings be with us all.
Thank you.